We're at it again. This time we're talking about Hanabi. This game is very simple, very fun. I enjoy playing it with 2 players. I enjoy playing with all the way up to what they say. You can play all the way up to 5 players if you want. 5 players gets a little hard, not gonna lie. But I really enjoy the game. So let's go through the rules. We'll go bit by bit, and hopefully by the end of this, you'll have either the drive to go buy the game and play it, or if you already have it, you'll have the knowledge to get started with your friends. Here we go. The premise of the game is that there's like a fireworks show that you need to fix to get ready to go. All these different color fireworks you got to make sure are in proper order so they can be launched properly. But obviously, basically, the goal is to get the colors that you're playing with in order from 1 to 5, all the way to 5. And if you do so successfully in all of them, you win the game. If you get close, you've done pretty well. So you can't necessarily lose the game. You can just do poorly or do extremely well, one of the two. But yes, your goal is to get those numbers all the way from the 1 value to the 5 value. And the way to do that is by rotating in your turns 1 by 1 and doing the legal moves available to you. But that's the premise of the game. Normally when you play, you're playing with the 5 generic colors, the red, white, yellow, blue, and green. There is an additional color, what I call rainbow, or some people call this the wild. I'll get into this at the end of the video of how you might be able to play with this, but for the base game, play with just these normal colors. Now, before you begin, what you need to know about the cards is that you have, for every color you play with, even the wild color, there are 3 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s, and a 5. And the reason for this is because as you play, you obviously want to be able to start the number, so the game gives you a little bit of a friend in a 1. All right, there's 3 1s available to you, so hopefully you'll at least be able to begin each and every stack. You'll see what I mean when I get into the gameplay. And then 2, 3, and 4, just kind of watch yourselves. Make sure that if you've discarded or gotten rid of a 2 and you know that only 1 2 is remaining, keep track of that as a team. Then you have 2, 3, 4, and then the 5. Obviously, the 5 is the one that's the hardest. Really keep track of your 5s, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to finish color. Now, in addition to the cards, you have your blue, what I call clue tokens, and your black, what I call the fuse tokens. The blue tokens do have a clock on them. Don't freak out about what order you use the blue tokens. It doesn't matter. The purpose of this is just to show you that, hey, time's running out. We really got to get this firework on the road. That's really what it's doing. But the clock does not matter. But the developers put a clock on there just for artistic reasons, I guess. Then the fuse, this is like the watch out token. You get rid of these fuse icons when you make mistakes. And once you've used the 3 fuse, the game is over with this blow up. So you get 3 mistakes per game before you blow up. So just be aware of that. When you give clues, you use these guys, and when you make mistakes, you just keep track of them with these guys. We'll get into more of that later. So when you're ready to begin, all you got to do is shuffle the deck up and deal out the cards to the players. If you're dealing with 2 to 3 players, 5 cards. If you're dealing with anything more than 3 players, deal out 4 cards each. And get started. So I'm going to give myself 5 cards here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know that's not how you normally deal cards, but let's say that this is my hand. This is what I'll use as my example hand going forward. I've never played a game like this where you don't look at your hand. You literally just put your cards away from you. So obviously the camera can see it, but I'm only looking at the back black and white side. Color side shows to your teammates, which is the other people playing the game, and the gray or the black and white side is shown to you. So if you don't see color, that's a good thing for your own hand. It is your teammates' jobs, the people playing with you, it's their job to give you hints as to what you have in your hand so you can work together as a team to get the cards in order on the table. So right now I have my hand here, and you can see that obviously if somebody from my team is going to give me a pointer, they're going to try to tell me where my 1s are. They're going to try to make sure they tell me that, hey, you have 2 green. Maybe they're going to try to get me to know which ones are green and stuff like that, so I can know I can discard 1, because I only need to have 1 green one. Which I'll get into in a moment, but that's the idea. They're going to try to give me hints to get started so we can obviously get those stacks of 5 going. Now, if there is any debate about who begins the game, technically speaking, it does not matter. Just start the game with whoever wants to go first. The rules say whoever looks the most colorful begins. So the most colorful clothes, usually they begin, but I'll tell you what, go with the most colorful personality. That's fine too, but it doesn't matter. Whoever you want to go first, just go first. So when it is your turn, you can do 1 of 3 things. Only 1 of 3 things. You can't do anything else. The first thing is you can give a clue. You can pick up one of the blue tokens and give somebody a clue. We're going to go more into that later, but once you use a clue, you just discard it and your turn's over. The second thing you can do is you can discard a card, right? So if I have a card in my hand and I know I can get rid of one, or I'm confident I can get rid of one, I just take it, turn it face up so we all know which cards have been discarded, that everybody can see the discard pile. And once you do that, guess what? You get a clue back. It's really frustrating when you lose all of your clues, because then you feel like you're stuck. So try to use your clues wisely and make sure you discard strategically. It's tough sometimes, but that's the idea. Give a clue and then you discard a card and you get one back. The third thing that you can do on your turn is you can play a card. And playing a card doesn't necessarily give you a clue back. It does sometimes when you play a 5, but make sure that when you play a card, you put it down correctly. Otherwise, you risk having the fuse go down towards a massive blow up of a fireworks show. So you get three mistakes you can use when you play a card. So let's say you play a 1 because you think you have a 1, and that the card you played is not playable at all currently. You have to use one of those fuses, and you get 3 of them. So I'll go through each of those steps one by one in the video, and just to make sure you understand them to a T and some strategies behind them. Okay, so if I have the job, if I'm playing and I have my turn and I want to give somebody a clue, and I'm looking at somebody that has this kind of in hand, my job, especially if we haven't started the hands yet, I want to make sure that they can know which cards they should keep primarily, right? I want to make sure that they know on their hand which ones they should keep and play and things like that. But what I'm trying to show you here is when you give a clue, you can only give a clue in one of 2 ways. Either show them all the specific numbers of one number in their hand. So for instance, I have in here 3 ones, 1, 2, 3. So if somebody's giving me a clue, they would say, hey, you have a 1 here, here, and here. So I know that I have 3 ones, and I would just make sure I mentally, if I'm the player over here on this side, I mentally take note of where those ones are. Maybe I rearrange my hand in such a way that helps me remember where numbers are. So they tell me where these 3 ones are. Now, here's the thing, is that let's say that there are already a few number of 1s on the table already. So let's say that the blue one is out there and the red one is out there, and I'm looking at somebody gave me that these 3 are 1s. Well, I don't know which one I can play yet. Do I risk and just throw one out there and hopefully that it's right, and risk having to lose one of these black tokens? Not sure yet. So maybe somebody else is going to have to give me a clue as to what color they are, right? And so that's the other way that you can give a clue. So the first way is you show them all the numbers in the hand. So in this case, they showed me where all 3 1s in my hand are. And the other way is that you can tell color. So let's say somebody wants me to know where the yellow one is in this case. They say, hey, you have a yellow card right here, right? So in a subsequent turn, I would know, oh, this is a 1, and now I know it's a yellow, I can play it. But if somebody wanted to show me where my green ones were, guess what? They would have to say, hey, these and this are all green. So they have to show me all the green in my hand. So I'd know that this is a green going forward. So one of the 2 options. So you have to kind of judge it, and the hard part about this game is when you're on this side, when you're holding your hand, you got to remember. You got to remember what people are telling you, and sometimes by process of elimination, you can figure out what your cards are. So just remember that. You have to either show them all the numbers of a specific number in their hand or all the colors of a specific color in their hand. It gets tricky, but it's a lot of fun. And just remember, every time you do so, you got to get rid of a clue. This clue goes to the side, and so if you have no clues left available when it comes around your turn, unfortunately, giving a clue will not be an option because you have to have a blue token available to give a clue. So if they're not there, somebody's got to discard a card for you to get one. And this leads me to the second part. Let's say it comes my turn and I know that these 3 are 1s and that I have green 1s right here, right? So here's my green 1s, here's my yellow 1, and I've been told that because people have told me where my greens are and they told me where my 1s are. I know that let's say there's no clues available on the table and I want the next person, or at least 1 or 2 people ahead of me, to be able to give a clue. Well, I know that I can safely discard one of these 1s as long as I retain the other one I intend to play. So I can take this out of my hand, discard it, and guess what? I get a token back. So regarding discarding, it's very straightforward. Just make sure you discard a card that you're very confident can be discarded. Because if you discard a 5, or if you discard the final 2 or 3 or 4 available, well, then you haven't necessarily lost the game per se. You just go as far as you can, but it makes it really hard to get all of them to 5. It's really satisfying when you can get all the numbers to 5. So a strategy I would just say is make sure you're aware and you're listening to your teammates really well, and you discard the card that you're very confident can be discarded. One thing that might help you is we keep a discard pile when we play. Everybody can see the discard pile. And when we discard them, we kind of just keep them arranged like this so we can remember, okay, the 2 and the 3 of green are out. And so we have to make sure that whoever has the 2 or 3 of green, we have to fairly efficiently tell them that they have that in their hand. So you just keep this in track. Everybody can see this. It's not a penalty to keep all the discards out there. If you want to play hardcore, I guess you can play without looking at it, but the rules state you can definitely keep the discards out there. So keep that in mind. And one final note about discarding. What I usually do when I play is I make sure that my teammates know that I will keep what I call my chopping block on one side of my hand. So let's say I'm playing this way. This is my left side. It's my left arm. Let's say that I keep on my left side all of my cards that are on my chopping block. So the far left card, in my case, is on my chopping block. So they know that I'm going to be intending to keep the ones on the right. So if they see a card that's on the chopping block for me, that might give them incentive to give me a clue in a timely fashion. What happens sometimes is you get a key card. Let's say one of these is a 5 that's getting close to the chopping block. They'll know that they can wait until it's on the chopping block to give me a clue about it because they know that I won't discard it until it's all the way over. You'll get to know how you and your teammates play together, but that's usually how it works. Hopefully, you guys can develop your own system, and I'm very curious in the comments how you develop it. So please feel free to leave that comment for me. Okay, so now the final option. You can play a card. Okay, now when you play a card, you actually don't necessarily have to know what the card is to play it. I mean, almost all the time you will. But for instance, this yellow one, I obviously know it's a yellow one. So if you look at my table here, there's no yellow one available. So I'm going to take my yellow one, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over on the table. I'm going to say play. And as long as it's playable, I move it into the slot. And the reason I show you that is because sometimes you're not necessarily confident what the card is, but you're confident enough that you know it's a playable card. So you don't have to always know what the card is. So all you have to do is turn it over, say play, put it out here, and see if it'll add to or be able to be played on a stack. If not, you got to throw it away, get rid of a fuse token, which is this black token here, and just be aware that you're getting closer to the end. Just like with discards, when you play a card, obviously replenish your hand from the stock so that you always have 4 cards in your hand. The greatest satisfaction of the game is when you are able to play a 5. If you put a 5 down, not only do you complete a stack, so you don't have to even worry about reds, like in this case a red or whatever color it is anymore. It's nice because you can just discard them and get clues back. But whenever you play a 5 successfully, you automatically get a clue back. So that's nice. You get a little bit of a reward for getting a stack completed. So get your clue back so you can hopefully win the game. And obviously this is what you're going for. You want stacks of 5, and this shows that you are the firework master. So if you have a few stacks that are completed, of course that's okay. There are some decks that just are shuffled weird that makes it almost impossible to complete them. By no means should you be ashamed of it, just try your best. But when you get to this, when you get to Nirvana, it is a great, great feeling. So good luck with that. Now, you can read this in the rulebook if you want to, but I will make a note here about the end of the game. The game obviously ends, like I've always been saying, is if you made 3 mistakes. If you made 3 mistakes and the fireworks blow up uncontrollably, game over. Sorry, guys. That's just the end of the game. Of course, you can keep playing, though, if you want to, just for fun. But that's technically the end of the game. The second way that the game ends, obviously, if you get all 5 stacks done. The game just ends immediately. You guys did it. Who cares how many cards you have left? You're good. The other way the game ends is if you get to the end of the stack, right? So if you've depleted your entire deck, so let's say it's my turn. I draw the last card and put it in my hand. Now there's no more deck to draw from. What happens is everybody else gets one more turn, including myself, and after I finish my last turn, the game is over, and then you see how far you've come. However, I'll give you a secret. I just keep playing anyway because I just want to have fun, right? But technically by the rules, that's where the game would end, is once you draw that last card, you go all the way around the table. That person that drew that last card will go one more time as well. You can do whatever you want on your turn, but then the game would end. But most of the time, I just play to get to 5. Like I don't really care if I made mistakes. I know that I made mistakes. It doesn't feel good to get to 5 if I kind of cheat around it. But my point is, have fun with the game. Okay, now let me talk about the rainbow deck. Let me talk about it first from the aspect of newbies. If you're new to the game and you just want to complete a game, you want to get to 5, what I recommend you do is you throw this in as a wild deck. What I mean by that is all these can be thrown in there, and when it's your turn to give a clue or something, these can be whatever color you want. Just remember that if you name a color in somebody's hand, that is what the new color is. So if somebody says that this is a green, it gives me a clue that it's a green 5, it cannot be changed. The reason I mention that is because you will very easily, in my opinion, get to 5 decks of 5 colors all the way up to the number 5 by using these as wilds. So that's if you want to make it an easier experience. Maybe you're playing with kids or what have you, or it's your first time playing. Just throw in a wild deck and just make it wild. It'll make it a lot more fun experience for you, just because it's fun to complete it, and then you'll keep challenging yourself more and more and more. And going along with that, let's say you want to keep wilds, but you don't want to keep all of them, then just put one of each number in there as a wild, just to help you out so you can get there. I mean, you can do either way, right? Or you can just put in wild 5s, because 5s are hard to get for. I'm just saying, use it as a wild deck, it'll help you win your first game. Now, the second variant is almost exactly the same, except in this case, it won't be a wild deck, it'll be its own color, right? So I'll call this the rainbow deck. So you're going for 6 colors instead of 5. So if you're going for 6 colors instead of 5, you can throw all these numbers in there to make it, basically the same game as we're using only 5 colors. Or you can just throw one of each of these in there and make this the really, really tough deck to complete. Because if you only had 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, it makes it really hard to get a perfect game. I will say my experience playing with 6 colors is actually a little bit easier than playing with 5, unless that 6 color is only one of each of these numbers. So again, that's what I like about the versatility of this game. You can just have fun in several different ways. So that's the other variant of this as well. So that's really all I have to say about this game. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, but I think you'll have a lot of fun. It's very simple, but hopefully this video helped you out.